The day the humans set foot on Vexora Prime marked the beginning of our downfall, though none of us recognized it at the time. Why would we? Our empire had crushed 12 star systems, reshaped 37 worlds, and erased 4 intelligent species that dared resist the supremacy of the Vexeran Empire. What danger could one soft-skinned biped ever present? Another exhibit for the menagerie, Supreme Commander? Asked my subordinate, Krell, his 6 eyes blinking in deliberate sequence as he studied the security feed. I leaned back into my command throne, 3 tentacles idly adjusting the holo displays, while a 4th guided a nutrient sphere into my mouth cavity. Hardly worth the oxygen it wastes, I replied between slow slurps. Humans were such a letdown, so much alleged potential, erased in a single orbital strike. Krell clattered his mandibles in agreement, the sharp clicks echoing off his exoskeleton. A pity they didn't struggle more. The arenas thrive on species with spirit. The human female remained still within her containment cell, gaze locked on the floor. Our records identified her as Maya Frost, 32 Earth years old. We had salvaged her, if one could use the word, from a drifting escape pod, 3 cycles after we had reduced her world to molten slag. Pure chance brought her into our grasp, or, as I would one day understand, perhaps the worst stroke of luck imaginable. I dismissed the matter with a flick of a tentacle. Standard procedure. Extract what intelligence she might yield, then consign her to the zoological division for cataloging. Should the geneticists uncover something worthwhile in her code, so be it. And if they did not, I swallowed another nutrient sphere. Then we add human to the extinction list and move on. The galaxy won't even notice their absence. She's not there, Krell interrupted, his mandibles trembling. And Science Officer Volix is dead. My tentacles froze mid-motion. Where did they go? How? I turned on Security Chief Graw, voice edged with fury. Explain how a primitive human, one who has never set foot on a Vexeran station, slips through our security nets and vanishes? Graw's exoskeleton had dulled to a sickly yellow. Unknown, Supreme Commander. It is as if she already knew our systems, our protocols, as though she walked with foreknowledge of every door, every lock, every patrol route. A cold weight coiled in my gastric chambers. The interrogations. What did she reveal about herself? Krell pulled up the records, mandibles clicking nervously. Almost nothing of consequence, Commander. She claimed she was merely a civilian? A botanical researcher? A botanist, I repeated flatly. A botanist killed 4 elite Vexeran warriors and commandeered a military shuttle? Perhaps. We should inform Central Command, Krell ventured, his mandibles twitching. I slammed a tentacle against the console, the impact echoing through the chamber. And tell them what? That we allowed a single human female to escape? They'd have our carapaces mounted on the Emperor's wall before the next cycle. My voice dropped to a hiss. No. We handle this ourselves. The shuttle's range is limited. She cannot have gone far. How wrong I was. So catastrophically, monumentally wrong. The missing shuttle surfaced 2 cycles later, drifting empty through the void. But Maya Frost had not disappeared. No, she had only just begun. The first major. Strike came on Vexora Primes. The first strike hit our largest moon base. Detonations tearing through the command hub and killing 23 high officers in seconds. Security feeds caught only fleeting images. A lone human figure moving with eerie composure amid the carnage. No one could explain how she'd breached such a fortified installation. Before our investigation could even begin, 3 supply freighters vanished without trace. Then a research station fell silent. Then a military comms relay went dark. Each attack carried the same haunting transmission across every Vexeran frequency. This is Maya Frost. You took everything from me. I'm returning the favor. Addie. Last, the The Supreme Council took notice when Governor Z of Vexora's third planet was found dead in his supposedly impenetrable fortress. Not just dead, his entire security detail had been eliminated, and the governor had been positioned in a grotesque tableau, but his body arranged to mimic the famous Victory of Vexora statue that commemorated our conquest of the Orion systems. The message that followed this time was different. This is Maya Frost. 6 months ago, you destroyed Earth. I have spent every moment since learning how to destroy you. Your biology, your technology, your weaknesses. Today marks the beginning of the end for the Vexeran Empire. When the Emperor himself summoned me to the Imperial Palace, I knew my career was over. Possibly my life as well explained to me. Emperor Zakos said, his massive form looming over me as I prostrated myself before his days. How one human female has caused more damage to our empire in 2 cycles than the combined resistance of the last 3 species. We conquered. Unexpected escape your radiance, I began. We believe the human may have had military training beyond what silenced the Emperor's roar code through the vast chamber. Your incompetence astounds me. Supreme Commander Dre, and this human was. In your custody, you had her contained helpless and you let her escape. I pressed my head, plates harder against the floor. Yes, your radiance, there is no excuse. No, there isn't. The Emperor's voice grew dangerously soft. Yet you will find a way to correct this situation. You will capture this human. You will discover how she has accomplished these acts of terrorism, and then you will make an example of her that will ensure no other species ever considers such defiance again. Yes, your radiance, I will not fail. See that you don't, because if you do, Supreme Commander, I will personally feed you to the spore beasts of Nexus 6 piece by agonizing piece. I assembled an elite task force, the best trackers, warriors, and tacticians in the Vexeran fleet were studied. Every attack analyzed, every piece of evidence created a psychological profile of our adversary, but the pattern that emerged was deeply troubling. She's not just attacking targets of opportunity. I explained to my team she's systematically dismantling our command structure, our supply lines, our communications. These are not random acts of revenge. This is a strategic campaign. But how does she know so much about our operations? Asked Gra, who had somehow survived the Emperor's purge of my security staff. How does she anticipate our movements? A terrible suspicion had been growing in my mind. Bring me everything we have on Earth, not just our military records. I want cultural databases, historical archives, everything. What we discovered chilled my exoskeletal plates to their core before our attack. Earth had been engaged in a cold war with a neighboring system. Maya Frost's botanical research had been a cover according to intelligence reports we had ignored as irrelevant. She had been one of Earth's most accomplished intelligence operatives, but specialized in deep infiltration and asymmetric warfare. She's not just a survivor. I told my increasingly frightened team, she's the worst possible human who could have survived, and we have given her nothing but motivation and opportunity. The next phase of Maya Frost's revenge campaign was even more devastating. Somehow she managed to infiltrate our central defense network. Critical systems began failing across 3-star systems. Unitary. Shields collapsed, weapons platforms turned on their operators, atmospheric processors shut down on newly terraformed worlds, and always that same message. This is Maya Frost, you took everything from me. I'm returning the favor. The death toll climbed into the thousands, then tens of thousands. Panic spread through the empire as citizens realized their vaunted military could not protect them. First blood. Maya's revenge begins from a single human bent on vengeance. We need to negotiate, suggested Admiral Razone of the few high command officers who hadn't been targeted yet. Negotiate, aloft bitterly with what we destroyed. Her world killed her species. What could we possibly offer her? Our surrender, Raz said quietly. The chamber fell silent. Surrender. The word was practically non-existent in Vexeran culture. In our 12,000 cycle history, we had never surrendered to anyone or anything. The Emperor would execute us all just for suggesting it. If finally replied, the Emperor may not have a choice. Raz countered, not if he wants an empire left to rule. Before we could debate further, the emergency alarms blared. Maya Frost had struck again, this time at the heart of our civilization. The Imperial Science Academy repository of all Vexeran knowledge accumulated. Over millennia of conquest was burning. By the time we arrived, the magnificent crystalline spires had collapsed into ruins. Centuries of scientific advancement, technological innovation, and biological research had been reduced to smoldering ash. The loss was incalculable, and there, standing amid the devastation as if waiting for us, was Maya Frost. I deployed my forces in a standard containment pattern, though by now I had little faith in standard anything when it came to this human. Through my command visor, I studied her. She looked ordinary, small, fragile, even dressed in a modified Vexeran combat suit that hung loosely on her frame. Yet something about her stance, the absolute stillness with which she observed our approach, sent primal fear, signals coursing through my nervous system. "Maya Frost!" I called out, my voice amplified. "You are surrounded. Surrender now." She smiled. It was the most terrifying expression I had ever seen. "Onani Species Supreme Commander Drez," she replied, her voice carrying. Clearly, despite its softness, "How nice of you to finally join me in person. I have been looking forward to meeting the architect of Earth's destruction face to face. I am authorized to discuss terms," I said, ignoring the looks of shock from my officers. Maya tilted her head. Entire Vexeran Empire now hung in the balance. The Imperial Palace of Vexora Prime had always inspired awe. Its spiraling towers of bioorganic architecture reached impossibly high into the crimson sky, a testament to 12 millennia of conquest and dominion. Today, however, as my shuttle approached through a squadron of defensive fighters, even the palace looked less like a symbol of eternal power and more like a final fortress, a last bastion against an enemy we had foolishly created. The Emperor has granted. "You, immediate audience," announced the Royal Guard commander who met us at the landing platform. His tone suggested this was not a privilege but a death sentence. "You are to come alone, Supreme Commander." Krell's mandibles clicked nervously. "Commander, perhaps we should prepare a detailed briefing. First, the Emperor will want evidence of this human's claims." "Evidence?" I laughed dryly. "The Academy lies in ruins. Our defense networks are compromised. Half the High Command is dead. What more evidence does he need? That we face an existential threat." The walk to the Emperor's inner sanctum felt longer than usual. Each step, possibly my last, guards lined the phosphorescent corridors, their battle armor polished to a mirror shine impressive to look at, but I now wondered how they would fare against an enemy who had systematically dismantled our most secure facilities. Emperor Zaxos waited on his living throne, a massive construct of semi-sentient tissue that connected him directly to the neural network, controlling the Empire. Unlike our previous meeting, the chamber was packed with military advisors, science directors, and regional governors, the remaining leadership of our civilization. "Supreme Commander Draz," the Emperor's voice rumbled through the chamber, "you come bearing news of the human terrorist." I lowered myself into the prostration position. "Yes, your radiance, but she is no mere terrorist. I believe we face a threat far greater than we initially understood." "Explain." Rising to a more dignified crouch, I recounted my encounter with Maya Frost's hologram. Her claims of a human fleet, the ultimatum she had delivered as I spoke. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the assembled dignitaries. "Preposterous," declared Grand Admiral Vox, his ceremonial head crests fully extended in agitation. "Our intelligence was thorough. Earth was humanity's only significant settlement. The rest were minor outposts, barely self-sufficient. And our intelligence has been wrong at every turn regarding this human," I countered. "We believed her to be a simple botanist. We believed her contained. We believed her actions were mindless revenge." We have been wrong every time and people have died because of it." The Emperor's upper eyes narrowed to slits. "You suggest we should retreat, based on the unsupported claims of a single enemy combatant abandoned territories and resources vital to the Empire's expansion. Suggest, Your Radiance, that we consider the possibility that Maya Frost is telling the truth, if she is, and when you're. Her warning the consequences could be enough." The Emperor's roar silenced the chamber. The Vexeran Empire does not cower before threats we do not. The Emperor's fatal pride, retreat we conquer. We subjugate, we annihilate those who oppose us, that is how. We have survived for 12 Zorio cycles, and that is how we will continue. I felt a cold certainty settle in my gastric chambers. The Emperor's pride would doom us all. Gather our fleets. Zaxos commanded every warship, every fighter I want. This human found and publicly executed, I want her remains analyzed down to the molecular level to extract every piece of intelligence about these supposed other human colonies. And then I want those colonies found and destroyed, just as we destroyed Earth. Supreme Commander, the Emperor addressed me. Directly, you will lead this hunt. Your life depends on its success. You have won. Cycle as the human softly suggested, but not to retreat to deliver her head to my throne. I bowed low as you command your radiance as I left the chamber. Admiral Vox fell into step beside me. The Emperor has given you an impossible task. Dries, this human has evaded our best efforts for months. What will you do differently? Now stop hunting her, I replied. Simply, I serve the Empire, I corrected, and right now the Empire needs information more than it needs revenge. I intend to find out if Maya Frost is telling the truth about other human settlements. I gestured Vox to follow me into a secure communication node. After activating privacy shields, I brought up a star chart on the holo display because we have been looking in the wrong places. I explained we assumed any human colonies would be near Earth. But what if they purposely settled in the opposite direction? What if Earth itself was their frontier world, not there? Centerox's exoskeleton paled. That would mean that the bulk of human civilization could lie beyond the dark nebula insectors we have never explored. I pointed to a vast region of space obscured by dense cosmic clouds, perfect cover for a species wanting to develop without attracting attention from expansionist empires like ours indeed, but speculation worth investigating before we commit our entire fleet to a potentially catastrophic confrontation. I deactivated the display. I need your help, Admiral. I need a scout ship fast stealthy with advanced sensors, and I need it without the Emperor knowing. Vox's mandibles worked silently for several moments as he calculated the risk. Treason, he finally whispered. Only if I'm wrong, I countered. If I'm right, it's salvation. 6 hours later, I was aboard the Shadow Seeker, the most advanced reconnaissance vessel in the Vexeran fleet. Officially, I was inspecting defensive positions around Vexora Prime. Unofficially, I was heading straight for the Dark Nebula, accompanied only by Krell and a minimal crew of trusted officers. This is madness, Commander, Krell muttered, as we prepared for the jump to faster-than-light travel, even if there are human settlements beyond the nebula. What do you hope to accomplish? One scout ship against an entire civilization? Information, Krell, the one weapon the Emperor doesn't have. I initiated the jump sequence. If we can confirm Maya Frost's claims, perhaps we can convince the Emperor to negotiate rather than fight. And if we can't, I had no answer for that fizzy. The journey through the Dark Nebula was treacherous, gravitational. Anomalies, radiation bursts, and corrosive gas clouds battered our ship twice. We nearly lost propulsion once the life support systems failed. For a terrifying 17 minutes, we pushed on deeper into uncharted space than any Vexeran vessel had ever ventured. On the third day, our sensors detected something extraordinary. Show me. I ordered. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing what at first appeared to be a small planetoid. But as our sensors penetrated the camouflage field surrounding it, the true nature of the structure became clear. That's a battle station. Krell whispered, larger than anything in our fleet, and it wasn't alone. As we drifted closer, maintaining our stealth field, more structures appeared on our sensors, space docks, defensive platforms, and ships, hundreds of ships, some so massive they dwarfed our largest dreadnoughts. Are they human vessels? I asked, dreading the answer. The sensor operator worked her console unknown design. But yes, I'm detecting life signs consistent with human physiology. Thousands of them, my worst fears confirmed. Ordered a complete scan of the region. What we discovered sent waves of primal terror through every member of the crew. This wasn't just a military outpost or a small colony. This was a thriving civilization, dozens of habitable worlds, massive space, habitats, mining operations, and military installations that suggested a level of technological advancement far beyond what we had observed on Earth. They have been here all along. I realized aloud, watching waiting Earth wasn't their homeworld. It was their frontier, and we attacked it. Krell finished the thought, believing we were eliminating a potential threat. We actually provoked a sleeping giant. I made my decision record everything. Every scan, every image. Then plot a course back to Vexera Prime. Maximum speed, but as we turned to leave, alarms blared. Across the command deck, we are being scanned. The sensor operator cried, something's locked onto our position, evasive maneuvers. I ordered, emergency jump too late. A brilliant beam of energy lanced out from the nearest installation, not to destroy us, but to immobilize our systems, went dark as the energy field enveloped our ship, holding us in place like insects in amber. They've trapped us in some kind of stasis field, Krell reported, unnecessarily, all systems non-responsive. I watched helpless as a small vessel detached from the space station and approached us. It was sleek, predatory, nothing like the clumsy ships we had encountered orbiting Earth. Prepare to be boarded. I told my crew, no resistance, we're on an intelligence mission, not a combat operation. The human boarding party was nothing like. I expected no strike team of armored soldiers, no weapons trained. On our heads, instead, 3 figures in simple gray uniforms entered our command deck. Their expressions more curious than hostile. The leader, a tall human with dark skin and silver-streaked hair, approached me directly. Supreme Commander Draz of the Vexen Empire. He said, his translator. Beyond the dark nebula, the truth revealed, perfectly reproducing our language. You are a long way from home. I drew myself up to my full height. You know who I am. We know everything about you. The human gestured, and holo displays appeared around us, showing detailed schematics of Vexer and military installations, fleet deployments, even the Imperial Palace itself. Maya has been very thorough in her intelligence gathering. Maya Frost. I said, so she does work for you. The human's expression hardened. Maya Frost is one of our most decorated intelligence operatives. Her mission was to monitor your empire's expansion and assess the threat level. She wasn't supposed to engage until you gave her no choice by destroying the research outpost she was stationed on, and